Hello, this is Tom, and this is Are You on the Spectrum? This is my little video journal of my experiences of trying to understand a very profound experience I had when I started putting, well, you'll see it if you've seen any other videos, but when I started to research if there's a possibility I had Asperger's syndrome, it took not very long. I mean, I would say within hours of when I started doing research to start an amazing transformation of my life. And it has been now 25 days since that day. And I've done a lot of research. I mean, there's a lot more to go. The people I've talked with have gone through the exact same process. Can say it can take a year or two before you really start to understand who you are, which is in itself it's exciting in a lot of ways, but it's also kind of weird. It's exciting, it really is. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in this video, because one of the things, and this is, I in a way I'm kind of going, why do you doubt this now? Why, with the people you've talked to, the research you've done, all that you've read, how could you doubt this is not that you're not on the spectrum or have Asperger's? And you just try to be. That's a very important thing to get right. But I'm off on a tangent here. What I wanted to talk about was how one of the effects that this had on me of being undiagnosed is that, and you'll hear this is very common also, that people say that there's something, there's just something about, it's like a fog that's all over everything, and you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't talk with anyone about it. You can't even find the words in yourself to describe it, but there's something, something that just seems off. And I don't know how it is with people who had no diagnosis at all. I had what I call my big four: dyslexia, ADHD, cross dominance, and then one that I'm about to take off the list. It was minimal brain damage, and that was something that was a diagnosis they would use. It wasn't really a diagnosis. It was I forget what the medical term is when you're sick and they don't really know what to call it or what it is, but but there's like, yeah, okay, you're sick and we just don't know what it is. Maybe it'll come to me, but that's kind of what that strikes me as. It's like, yeah, well, okay, well, my mom had told me I was hypoxic at birth. And so they probably had that a bit of information, and that's one of the things that they will say, well, minimal brain damage due to hypoxia at birth. And it's a stab in the dark. It's a wild, guess. And it's a shame because, well, another shame. They said I'd never graduate from high school. No, your son, sorry, Tommy will never graduate from high school. Just want to prepare you for that. Well, even if you never hear that yourself as a child, I think it changes my parents, my mom never, that never, I never felt like she was believed that, and I know if she never showed me her emotions if she believed that or whatever, but you get a kid, once you're diagnosed like that, there's something wrong with you. There's something. And then on top of that, if you are on the spectrum and you've got all this other stuff, this invisible whatever that's playing all the time, why these relationships aren't working, why I can't make friends, why, I'm the, parties, why I'm uncomfortable, why I don't want to, and it's that, and you go through this and you lose, you never have a sense, I never had a sense of self. I didn't know. And I think part of that is because you're always trying to cover up who you really are. You don't really know. I mean, there's a big difference between me saying, okay, I don't get it when I'm very literal. If I know that little bit of knowledge and I can go into a conversation and say, um, well, let me turn it around the other way. If someone comes up to me and says something that is, and this happened to me actually very recently at work. We had gotten some appliances in, and this is at an apartment, and one of the residents said, "What are you going to do with that stove?" And I said, "I'm just going to keep it in the shop." And he kind of looked at me, and and I'm picking up, okay, that's not what he was saying. I said, "It's going to so and so, Oh, okay. Now, maybe I'm blowing that out of proportion, but those kind of things happen to me pretty often. As a matter of fact, I can see now it goes the other way too. I will say something. I think I'm actually good at communication if I can remember what I'm trying to say. But I've had so many people misunderstand me. Part of it, and I'm very technical when I explain something. It's like, okay, this is a jar, and the way this lid works is there are helical coils around here that grab these other helical coils, and the torsion on this cap actually creates a pressure downward. I mean, people are like probably going, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying is that that's the way my mind works. It's the way I look at things, and when I explain things, I try to be clear to people. I'm speaking Greek, and sometimes they're speaking Greek to me when they're saying, what are you going to do with that thing? It's like, well, I'm going to, I don't know. Oh, I'm on a tangent, aren't I? Okay. But it would, knowing what's going on, understanding why you feel that way. If I had been diagnosed, if I would have had the professionals or the peer support of other people that were on the spectrum, it would have made a heck of a lot of difference. It might have hurt just as bad. It may have hurt more. Maybe in some ways ignorance is bliss, but it isn't. It really isn't, because then you can't deal with it. Then you can't. It's always my fault. It's always something wrong with me. When it isn't, it can be just as much the fault of the other person. I mean, really, it's a two-way street. This is this whole thing about being neurodiverse, neurotypical, where it's like it's not just that neurodiverse people are misunderstood. The neurotypical people are misunderstanding the neurodiverse people too. I mean, if it was a one-way street, then the other person would probably correct you. Oh, no, I know, you think literally, so I meant this, Doesn't work that way. It's just this fog. It's this, and when you don't know why these things are happening, of course you fill in the blanks with, you and everyone else fill in the blanks. You go to your professionals and say, I just don't feel like, well, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm a little down, it's depression. Here, have a pill, and you take your pills and you're going, wee, it's like, I don't think this is it. And you do that, and it's like you beat your head against this eternal rock of going, what's going on? What's going on? Pretty soon your head gets sore, and pretty soon you're going, I don't want to beat my head anymore against this rock. And all that changed. All that changed, and within, well, it's still changing. But the start, the profound depth, I mean, it's not like this little tippy toe in the pool to see what the water's like. It's like dive in, 200-foot platforms into that water, and it's cold water. No, actually, I would say it was, actually, it was very warm. It was, I instantly knew I found something extremely, extremely important. And this again goes to why I am almost ready to say, almost certain that I'm on the spectrum. I'll make a video about that the day that happens. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of share this perspective of losing yourself because you're misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all. And I'm sure, and like they say, if you met one person with autism, you met one person with autism. Everybody's got their story. Everybody was a little bit different. Everybody, coped with it differently and everything else. And I just am very grateful that my sanity hung in there. I think part of that was humor. Part of that was faith. Part of that was, I don't know. I don't know. Believe me, there's times that all those things wore very, 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 very thin. I'm just glad that chapter can be closed, and I really do believe it can be closed no matter what I find. I have found a key. I have found a very important key. So anyway, I hope all of you out there who are searching find your key. That sounds sort of funny. You're missing your key. Alrighty. This is Tom for Are You on the Spectrum? Thank you for joining me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.